Celtics could generate. This is exactly out of one of those old days we were around in. Yep.
Yeah. So of course we'll get into that. But the big game last night, that happened up in Boston, and the Thunder beat the Celtics 118-112. Now here's my thing about the Thunder, and this is good for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the whole MVP talk. He scores 34 last night. They win the game. They beat the defending champs. The defending champs don't have Kristaps Porzingis, but hold on a second. Oklahoma City doesn't have Jalen Williams. So their second best player is not available. The Celtics' second best player is available. They ended up fouling out of this game. It was 5 for 15. And I'll tell you what, there are some nights when the Celtics play, and what happened to them last year, they had a great regular season. They cruised through the playoffs. They make a ton of three-pointers, so now everyone's shooting three-pointers. How about the Celtics last night with the threes, though? Does it reach a point where, don't you think it's after a while, it's like, come on, guys. Can you just maybe try a 2-point shot? 20 of 63 they were last night, and they shot really poorly in the second half on threes.
Yeah, second half they were awful. They were 19%, 5 of 27. There were times, Frank, you saw this, where they'd pass the ball around, somebody'd be open for a layup. No, they're not going to take the layup. They're going to throw the ball back out. So they took 63 threes, including an NBA record 36 in the first half. Yeah. It was crazy. It was just like, what are you guys doing? But the key is, down the stretch of this game, they missed 8 of their last 9 after Al Horford tied the game at 98 with about 8 to go. Then after that, they couldn't make a 3, and it killed them at the end.
I know. And it was Kendrick Williams who hit that 3 from the corner to get Oklahoma City going. That's a great win for Oklahoma City. It's funny, too, because no matter what Oklahoma City has done up to this point, they've never been out of the second round. So any criticism of them is fair. And all they could really do is just go out there and win. So Brian Windhorst was saying yesterday, I saw him on TV talking about how there's just this feeling around the Western Conference that teams don't really fear Oklahoma City. And I get where he's coming from. Now, that doesn't diminish what they've done this year, but it's still going to be, and this is going to be true of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, very well could be the MVP of the league. Ultimately, just like Joel Embiid, these guys are going to be judged on how they do in the playoffs. So when the playoffs roll around, there'll be a lot of pressure on them, but it seems like just about every test that they have, they pass the test during the regular season.
No question about it. I mean, look at their record after the losses. They're 11-1. They've had, 1 2-game losing streak the entire season. We know only Cleveland's got a better record, obviously. But the thing is, this is a team, Frank, last year, second round, had some brutal losses at the end to the Mavericks and didn't get out of the second round, like you said. So, when we're ready to start the playoffs, everybody's going to be 0-0. And what are people going to be talking about Oklahoma City? Well, do they have enough experience? Did last year's playoff score, are they going to turn that into a deep run and maybe get to the finals where they haven't been since the days of Durant and Westbrook and Harden? It's a natural thing. You can have regular season, but if you don't have the playoffs on your resume, playoff success, then you're 0-0 going into the playoffs. That's what everybody's going to be looking at, and that's the big thing. And so it's not unfair not to criticize them, just to point that out, saying, yeah, it's all great what they're doing now, but this team doesn't have a history in the playoffs. Who knows how far they can go? The onus is going to be on them, obviously, and we'll see how they react. We'll see if they respond or not. It'll be fascinating to see.
Yeah, and the difference now with this Oklahoma City team, Hartenstein is a huge addition to the team. But also remember, Chet Holmgren was hurt last year. So you're adding size, number one, but how good of a player is Chet Holmgren? How good is he with the basketball? How skilled is this guy? And he plays with unbelievable confidence out there.
Man. First of all, last night, he got you 23 points, 15 rebounds, and defensively, Frank, the thing that's scary about him is he plays on the perimeter like he's a guard. It's like he moves almost like, don't want to say he's exactly like Kevin Garnett back in the day, but when Kevin Garnett came in the league, he could, as a 7-footer, 6'11", 7-footer, he's running around on the outside guarding wing players and guards. He has that type of quickness, Chet Holmgren. So their defense last night at times, especially at the end, when they went on that 15-4 run, Celtics couldn't get any kind of good opportunities near the basket. So he played himself a great game. And I mean, when he's playing like that, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets you 30, they are a tough. I mean, they're the elite of the elites.
So they swept the Celtics this season. They've won 17 of their last 18 games. They bounced back from the loss the other night to Denver. So their last 3 games are 2 against Denver, then against the Celtics, one of them on the road, and then they end up going 2-1 in those games. And then what kind of statement do you think Boston's trying to make here in the first quarter? They attempt 22 threes and 2 two-point shots. Do you know that they did not make a 2-point shot in the first quarter? They were 0 for 2 on 2-point shots, 9 for 22 on threes. Now that's done by design, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
What are they trying to accomplish?
Done by design. They're trying to accomplish, we're going to get out and roll to a big, 35, 40-point quarter. The problem is they got outscored still 33-30 in the first quarter. I mean, they're trying to set the tone, and they're going to put all kinds of pressure on that defense to come out and stop their threes. So, you know what? It looked like it was working at, part of the game. But Frank, as many threes as they were hitting, their biggest lead was only 2 points the whole night.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I know. Meanwhile, they also clinched a playoff spot last night. How about that? If you're the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Well,
here we are in early March. Here was Shea Gilgeous-Alexander after the game last night on clinching a playoff spot.
Yeah, it means we got better than we were last year. Ultimately, when you look up, that's all you can ask for. You got better, you put the work in, put the time in. And I think that's, like you said, we achieved it earlier. I think that's all it really means, that we took steps in the right direction. We all got better, and we, I guess, checked the goal off the list a little bit earlier than last season. We have a lot more to do.
They're going to finish with the best record in the Western Conference. They could finish with the best record in the NBA. And again, it's a great story, and it's a hard team not to like. The coach is a good guy, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, a good guy, great player. It's a likable young team, and we're going to see a lot, folks, of Oklahoma City over the next 4 or 5 years. This is going to be just like it was when it was Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. You saw a ton of them. All throughout the season, you're going to see a lot of them in the playoffs, because this team, this franchise ain't going anywhere. But, again, come playoff time, for me, no team's going to have more pressure. Cleveland, I probably put second because of the great regular season that they're having. But it's going to be Oklahoma City, because this is going to be the second straight year they're going to finish with the best record in the West. And they got to do better than get out of the second round. But the Western Conference is a beast. Not going to be easy.
Oh, it's going to be brutal. Brutal for them. I mean, look at all the great teams that you have in the Western Conference with Denver. I mean, even though they lost last night to Minnesota, Minnesota's coming on. We'll see how LeBron is with the Lakers, Frank. I mean, if the Lakers are all healthy, they're going to be formidable. You got Memphis there. So, yeah, this is going to be, I mean, if Oklahoma City can go to their, back to a finals for the first time since the Durant era, they will definitely have earned it, because that they're going to run the gauntlet versus the Eastern Conference, where, it's going to be much easier travel for a team like Boston or Cleveland. They won't be challenged till the conference, maybe the second round at the earliest. But Oklahoma City, right off the bat's going to get a tough draw probably in the West.
And that's an impressive road win for Oklahoma City last night. And then you just mentioned Minnesota, another impressive road win. They beat the Nuggets 115-95. They led wire to wire in this game. If you go back to Game 7 last year in the second round, where Minnesota came back from that big deficit, won Game 7 on the road. They're now 3-0 against the Nuggets this season. So the Nuggets, to me, can be a dangerous team, and all Minnesota does is beat them now. Anthony Edwards at 29, Julius Randle's 25, Rudy Gobert 11 and 10, Dante DiVincenzo is playing a lot better. Jokic, meanwhile, 34 points and 8 rebounds. The rest of the team really struggled. I mean, Jamal Murray was 0 for 7 in the first half at one point. He ended up going 4 for 15 with 12 points. But Minnesota's tough. We just mentioned it. They've won their last 11 that Randle plays in, and now they've won 6 in a row.
Right. And that defense, their wing defenders really make life really miserable for Jamal Murray. He really struggles against this team. They've won now, 5 straight games going back to the playoffs. The last 2, Games 6 and 7 last year, and then the 3 this year. And I'll tell you what, they really make him work. He ended up 4 of 15 for only 12 points. And he's a guy, Frank, on that team. Obviously, Jokic can make plays for other people. But in terms of getting their own shots, they don't have many guys who can do that. They were missing Aaron Gordon. He can't really do that. Jamal Murray's the one guy who can really get to the basket on his own. But, boy, Minnesota has a great defense set up for him. So that would be another tough playoff draw for Denver if they have to go up against Minnesota at some point.
All right, right now Minnesota sits in 7th place. They're in a tie with Golden State, even though they've played more games than Golden State has. They played 2 more games somehow than the Warriors have, but they're tied with the Warriors, and they're 2.5 back of 5th place. They're not going to get to 4. They're 4 games back of 4th place. That's hard to leapfrog that many teams and make up that many games. I mean, you're going to have a terrific team in the play. You're going to have actually 2 terrific teams because you're either going to get, right now you have Minnesota and the Clippers, you have Golden State could drop or Houston, so it's like we just said, the Western Conference is going to be really rough. All right, let's do this. Let's take our first break here. We get back, we'll get into the crazy day that was for the New York Knicks. This was like a flashback to 20 years ago for them. The only difference was when they would have dysfunction, they'd lose.
Pissed.
Last night they had dysfunction and they won the game. A little bit different. The mental toughness of this team, maybe it's something to admire, but crazy day for Mikal Bridges and for Tom Thibodeau and for the New York Knicks. We'll get into all of them when we get back. Starting lineup right here on NBA Radio.
Hi, this is Will Arnett from Smartless, a podcast I do with my pals Sean Hayes and Jason Bateman, with special guests from Howard Stern, Trevor Noah, David Beckham, Kelly Clarkson, to a few presidents. It's an unscripted, unrehearsed, but hopefully not unprepared podcast. We'll cover topics like doing limbo for self-esteem, skydiving hungover to world affairs. And now, you can hear every new episode a full week early on the SiriusXM app. Just search Smartless to join the fun.
Mom, I need to lay low for a few days.
Lay low? What's going on?
I only paid for this Hyundai Tucson.
Christopher Allen Lynch.
Feels so right, it almost feels wrong. Get the car or SUV you want at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Right now, get 2.99% APR for 72 months on the Hyundai Santa Fe, Tucson, or Elantra. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today. Offers end March 31st. Call 562-314-4603 for details.
All power, zero compromise. Ego cordless outdoor power equipment features advanced lithium battery technology that exceeds the power and performance of gas without the noise, fuss, or fumes. From blowers and trimmers to mowers and pressure washers, one battery powers over 90 tools. No wonder it is the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power. Power beyond belief. Visit egopowerplus.com to learn more or to find an Ego retailer near you. That's egopowerplus.com.
The beauty of a tournament cheat sheet is that someone else spent thousands of hours watching film and analyzing stats, so you didn't have to. When it comes to hiring for your small business, LinkedIn does the same thing with candidates. LinkedIn delivers the strongest hiring data and insights to help you identify the right candidates to make the best hiring decisions. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/SXM. That's linkedin.com/SXM. Terms and conditions apply.
Jake from State Farm. I just beat my running PR, so I'm celebrating with a banana bonanza smoothie.
Hey, and you can keep celebrating when you create an affordable price just for you by bundling your home and auto with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. Go bananas.
I will. Hey, make it a large.
Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
It's what you wait for all week. The three-pointers, the rebounds, the pull of every shot. Win or lose, it's the hope that keeps you coming back. The dream that this time, it might be your year. So you represent anticipation, pride. Because when the pressure's on, your support is everything. That's why the NBA store is here to support you. Check out the largest selection of official NBA gear at NBAstore.com. A Bananas experience.
This is SiriusXM Radio.
Is on the starting lineup with Frank Isola and Brian Scalabrine.
Hi, we got Mitch Lawrence filling in for Brian on this Thursday morning. So the Knicks beat the Blazers last night, 114-113 in overtime. Mikal Bridges hit a three-pointer at the buzzer over Donovan Clingan, who I actually thought contested the shot pretty well. I saw Clingan play last week in person, maybe 10 days ago. He's not bad, man. He's pretty good, man, on both ends of the court.
UConn.
So that's a money shot for Mikal Bridges. There's no doubt about it. Really, make the case. Oh yeah, that is his best moment of the day. Considering what happened early in the day, and we'll get to that in a minute. We'll work our way back. The win itself is tremendous because that's now 2 wins for the Knicks on the road without Jalen Brunson. So since he left the team with that ankle injury he has, and I think it's a lot more serious than probably everyone was letting on, they're 2-1 without him. They get a couple of days off here now before they play against the Warriors on Saturday night. And it's been a long trip for the Knicks because remember, when the Big East tournament is at Madison Square Garden, they got to evacuate the building for a long time. So the Knicks have only played 5 games. It feels like they've been out there on the West Coast for, I think it's going to be like a 10-day trip to play the 5 games. And it began with the back-to-back of the 2 LA teams. But that's a terrific win for them. For Bridges, that's a money shot. Towns was 8 of 12 from the field. I thought Scoot Henderson played really well in this game. He's improved by leaps and bounds. Give him and give Chauncey Billups, who, by the way, is the coach of the Portland Trailblazers. Give those guys a lot of credit for the way that Scoot has played. Denny Avdia had 27. And I'll tell you watched the game last night. I understand that the Knicks fans travel well. I didn't know you'd see that many of them out there in Portland. So the witness protection program must be putting a lot of people from the New York metropolitan area in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, you and I have been to games all over the country with the Knicks, every building imaginable, and you get Knicks fans anywhere. I've never remember seeing or hearing that many of them in Portland before. That was crazy.
Wow. I had no idea. That's great. Usually you see them, East Coast, mostly, Atlanta's a big Knicks spot. Washington, obviously. Philly, all the places. Brooklyn, they take that over.
L.A.?
Portland. L.A., sure. All those old New Yorkers come out and root for the team, right? Root for their hometown team. But Portland, that's different. That's very impressive. But you know what? This is a team, if you're a New Yorker and you're out in the Portland area, you got to go see these Knicks play. Now, it's different without Brunson because, he's not there. But still, the Knicks are one of the top teams in the league, no doubt. So that's interesting that they flooded the zone with Knicks fans last night in Portland.
All right, so if you follow the bouncing ball here with the New York Knicks, they lose Brunson in the overtime loss to the Lakers on a Thursday. On Friday, they play the Clippers. They lose the game. The minutes for Hart and Bridges, which have been pretty high all season, just because, as Tom's explaining, they're wing players, plus the Knicks bench. Don't listen to the Knicks fans. The Knicks bench isn't that good.
No.
They think all these guys are great. They're talking about Precious Achiuwa. He's actually playing more for the Knicks than he did for Toronto, and Toronto stunk when he played for them. And Landry Shamet was out of the league. He's bounced around a million teams. They're treating him like he's Vinnie Johnson or something. I mean, stop. Anyway, so last night Bridges played 40 minutes and 43 seconds, to be exact, Mitch. Earlier in the day, and this came out, you want to talk about something that came out of left field, he's talking to the media at the shoot-around, and he's talking about the minutes that he's playing. He says, sometimes it's not fun on the body. You'll want that as a coach, but I also talked to him a little bit knowing that we've got good enough guys on the team where our bench can come in and we don't need to play 48, 47, meaning minutes. Hard stop right there. He's not played 48 or 47 minutes all year. So saying something like that, I mean, that's, what would be the word that everyone uses, Victoria? That's not that he's being aggressive. What is that? That's
disingenuous.
Victoria, what's the word I'm looking for? Come on, Victoria. It's one of the words that all the
hyperbolic
use.
No, they don't use that, Mitch.
No,
okay.
No, they don't even know what that means. Come on,
How
Victoria,
about BS?
What's the word?
How about BS? Is that the word?
You're not triggered. You're gaslighting. That's what you're doing. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you. Gaslighting. Because he hasn't played 48 or 47 minutes.
Nobody does. Come on.
So then he says, we've got a lot of good guys on this team, and they could take away minutes, which helps the defense, helps the offense, helps tired bodies being out there, giving up all these points. It just helps keeping fresh bodies out there. Okay. So he's talking about coming out. Now, or playing too many minutes. Now, let me ask you this. In the history of the NBA, can you please, and maybe, I don't know the answer, so, and if callers want to call in and tell me, can you please list for me the players in NBA history who have gone to the coach, asked to play less, and then went to the media and revealed that they told the coach that they want to play less minutes. Can you please tell me who those guys are?
I can't think of any, starting with Wilt Chamberlain or Michael Jordan. Significant people like that. Nobody complains about that. They complain about a lack of minutes. That's what they complain about, not too many minutes.
All right, that's one. And then two would be, if he raised his hand to come out of the game, the coaches are going to take him out.
Of course.
If you want to come out, just raise your hand. Isn't that usually how it works? How many games have you been to over the years where you've seen a guy look at the bench, raise his hand, and they take him out?
Take him right out. That's it.
In fact, the star player, I'm not saying he's on the level of like LeBron James or guys like that, but you've seen a lot of star players before basically say, give me a minute here. And they come out of the game, and they decide when to go back in. But here's the other thing, too. So if you include last night's game, I'll start back 10 games ago for Mikal Bridges. He played 29 minutes, 28, 41, 33, 28, 36, and then the overtime win against the Lakers, he played 43. The next night he played 44. Against Sacramento, 33. Last night, about 41 minutes in an overtime game.
Right.
So,
with days off in between, except for that back-to-back. It's not crazy. It's not like he's digging coal here for a living. Come on. It's crazy.
It's a little odd, right? That he would do something like that. So why do you think he's saying that?
I mean, is this to get all the people fired up and to be like a fan favorite? All these people are killing Tom Thibodeau about you're overusing your starters. You're going to kill them before the playoffs. Is he appealing to that fringe element? Those people who are on TV like Channing Frye and other people who are killing Tom Thibodeau. I mean, what's the point of that? You're causing a problem in the locker room with your coach. I don't understand it. I don't know what his thinking is on that. It makes no sense anyway. I mean, the Knicks don't have a bench to use.
I give him hugs every day.
And since you mentioned Channing Frye, it comes one day after that whole thing had kind of gained momentum. What Channing Frye had said after the game. You think Mikal Bridges was aware of it? So is that Mikal? Is it just something as innocent as Mikal Bridges not being from this area, maybe not knowing how the media game works, maybe saying something in Brooklyn isn't going to have the same impact it's going to have when you play for the Knicks? Is that part of him maybe being naive to realize when you're saying something like that, the reaction that it's going to get from everybody, that it's going to become a big story? Is it something as innocent? Because I had heard he had campaigned for them to sign Landry Shamet. So a lot of people thought he's just trying to throw a bone to his boy Landry Shamet, who did play last night, I think 20 minutes, and they were -7 with Landry Shamet. Right. Was it that, Mitch, or is it an example of him kind of piling on and playing into the narrative, knowing that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, see, even this guy says that they're playing too much. The guy that plays every single game, who wears his streak like a badge of honor, it's the guy that is the Iron Man in the NBA, basically saying, play me less. Which one do you think it is?
I think it's the latter, but to me, it's like the big picture thing, Frank, is why do you want to cause these problems when you're winning? This is the thing that makes no sense. Listen, if you were losing, that's one thing, but you're winning here. You've had a successful trip for the most part without your best player, so why are you all of a sudden bringing this out and talking about how you have to play and other people have to play less minutes, which, by the way, isn't a popular view. Josh Hart loves playing all the minutes that he plays, and other Knick guys love it. They don't think like they're being worn out before the playoffs. And so, we can't get inside Bridges' brain, but this to me is a big misstep because you're doing nothing but causing you're beating out a disruptive element. Now, he won the game for him, which is great, so we helped there. But otherwise, how does this help the team going forward? It shows that there's a problem here, and even though there may not be, he thinks there's a problem, and it's a fire that Tom Thibodeau has to put out.
All right, so Mitch, I'm going to give you all the teams in the NBA that have at least 40 wins this season.
Good.
Lakers, Rockets, Nuggets, Memphis, Oklahoma City, Knicks, Celtics, Cavaliers. Do you ever hear any of those other coaches? Now, J.J. Redick was getting unfairly criticized at the start of the season. I think the guy's done a terrific job. But
great job.
in the last month, 6 weeks, you ever hear any of those coaches get criticized? Or the way that they're using it? Basically, you almost have people calling for the coach's head in New York. They're 42-23.
Yeah.
In Houston, for example, and I think Ime Udoka's done a great job. Fred VanVleet has been out since February 1st. They've had a ton of injuries on that team. The Lakers right now are playing without LeBron, Rory Hachimura, and Dorian Finney-Smith and Jackson Hayes. The Memphis Grizzlies have had guys hurt. Last year, Oklahoma City didn't have Chet Holmgren in the playoffs, and right now Jalen Lewis. Sorry, nobody's blaming that on the coach. It's nobody. And Cleveland has been great. Was Donovan Mitchell available in the last 2 games of the playoffs last year against Boston, or was he hurt? No. So Jared Allen hurt last year. I like he was hurt a couple of years ago as well. Is anybody giving those coaches a hard time? So why is it that this is the one coach whose team is 42-23?
Right.
Everyone is ganging up on him.
Tom is the target here. He's always been the target. You know, it's very unfair for him. And it's a hard enough job, a difficult enough job now winning without your top player, Jalen Brunson. Now he's got to put up with this nonsense going on in the locker room. I'm just glad, Frank, that he had a forum yesterday where people actually, because Bridges spoke out, as crazy as the statements were that he made, in my opinion, about we're playing 2 guys too many minutes, which is nuts. And at least it gave Tom, when they talked to Tom, the media talked to Tom and brought it up. First of all, it was great where he said we never even had a conversation. But then he got into the reasoning why players that he has playing extended minutes aren't playing. Basically because, listen, if the other great wing players are on the court, my best wing defenders and players have to be, wing guys have to be on the court. So I was happy for that, because usually it's like there's a muzzle on Tom. He can't respond to the Channing Frys of the world. It's terrible to deal with that because of the restriction placed by by MSG. So at least he had a chance to go back at everybody through this whole Mikal Bridges controversy. It kind of helps him out, I think, in the long run.
Yes. And Bridges, I was looking at it from the standpoint of Bridges has struggled this year. He's had some really good moments. Obviously, last night's his best moment with the team. But they did give up 5 first-round picks to him. He was unhappy in Brooklyn. I think he's somewhat unhappy with the Knicks or whatever. Maybe he's just that kind of guy. Maybe he's just never happy. And to me, it's a deflection. It really is. It takes the focus off of him, and you're kind of piling on knowing that this is a conversation that always takes place. But for a player on the team to do that, I mean, would he be okay now if the coach started revealing private conversations, every private conversation he has with Mikal Bridges? Would that be okay? Yeah. When he's told Mikal Bridges what Mikal Bridges said to him? When do you ever hear that? Especially when it's not from a star player. If it's Jalen Brunson and he's saying, Tom and I have talked about something, he's the leader of the team, it's Jalen Brunson. It's a little bit different.
Yes.
When it's Mikal Bridges, who's kind of a flaky guy, like he doesn't always deal with the media. The beat guys usually, they hardly ever talk to him. It's interesting, the one time he does talk, he kind of drops his bombshell on him. But you mentioned, Tom, what he had, his response to this. This is prior to the game last night. So here's Tom responding to the Mikal Bridges comments about wanting less minutes for himself, but also the other stars.
Well, we never had a conversation about it, but the facts are the facts, and when you look at our team and the way it works is Jalen plays 35 minutes. He's in the top 20. I think he's 20th or 21st in minutes played. Cat is a primary scorer. He plays less than Jalen, so he's like 25th in the league in average minutes. Your wings play more, right? So they're matched up with primary scorers. So the way it works is if Jason Tatum is in the game and Jaylen Brown is in the game, OG will be in the game and Mikal will be in the game. When those guys go out, they go out. When they come back, they come back. You try to keep the matchups. When you look at the league, right, all those guys are playing 36, 37 minutes, whether it's Durant, a Tatum, a Brown, the wings are going to play more. So they're primary wing defenders. So that's the way it works. And then sometimes you're caught in matchups. So the Lakers were big wings, so you got to deal with that. And you look at Mikal's minutes have gone down. We started the season with Landry hurt and Deuce not 100%. So our wings did play more. So are they playing a little bit more than I would like? Yeah, probably 35, 36.
78 games, and he averaged 37 minutes a game. He was 34 years old. Mikael Bridges is 28. Okay? Now, you want to tell me people are going to see it, the game has changed, the pace of the game, all this stuff. You know what else has changed? How soft everybody is. How soft people in the media are, and how soft some of the fans are. Because minutes was something we never talked about. No one ever talked about that. The best players played. That was kind of taken for granted. Yeah. You just said the best players would play. And folks, back then, when the guy was injured, if you put the guy in the injured list, he would have to miss 5 games. There would be times when star players would get hurt, and the team kind of felt he's probably going to be out for 2 weeks. They still wouldn't put him on the injured list in case the guy might have been all of a sudden had some miracle recovery and could come back within 4 games and play. Because back then, if you were on the injured list, you had to miss a minimum of 5 games. It's just the mentality. You want to tell? I'll agree with you. The pace of the game has changed. I get it. Can you? Now it was a lot more physical in the '90s, but can you at least admit that everything else around the game has changed too? The way that we talk about it.
Yep.
I've never. Back, Mitch. When did fans ever talk about minutes played? They would say, "I wish they would play so and so more." How come there would always be a guy on the end of the bench? It's like the backup quarterback syndrome in the NFL. Everybody always wants a backup quarterback to play. Anybody that was on the bench, the fans, how come he never gets a chance to play? See what he can do. Believe me, they're getting a chance to see what the guy can do in practice. There's no hidden gems on the bench that they're not playing who the coach believes can help, but he's going to spite himself and not play the game. That's not the case. It doesn't happen with any coach. But this is something the fans obsess about this, and certain media members do as well.
No, it's ridiculous. It's misplaced, the whole thing. And years ago, Frank, I mean, could you get Mike Betty on a minutes restriction or get him off the court?
They wanted him out.
Minutes thing.
Yes.
They wanted him out of the game.
Please take him out.
Oh my God. Really, especially in the playoffs when the guy never came off the floor. He was never in foul trouble, right? And he never came off the floor because that's the way you won games. And everybody that was an accepted part of the sport. That was the thing. All these guys who could play in excess of 38, 39 minutes in the playoffs, they were revered and they were the best players in the league, and everybody could. But the fans, you're right. I mean, the fans back then, nobody talked about that. It's really changed. It's really good. It's amazing.
And if you look at his minutes, so the 44 against the Lakers, you subtract 5, that would have been a 39-minute game. Yesterday would have been a 37-minute game for him if they didn't go into overtime. So his minutes have come down a little bit. So he's basically sitting a quarter a game, but the guy never gets hurt, and the guy plays all the time. It's just strange that he would go down this road. The last time he made a big deal was with the Nets last year, when he complained about not playing enough. That's when they sat all those guys against Milwaukee. He was not down for that. Yeah, he was critical then. I don't know. It's amazing what goes on. Hey, but listen, the game for the Knicks, it was a great ending because Mikael Bridges hit the big shot. Here was Tom Thibodeau on Mikael Bridges winning 3. Number 3.
We like that play because there's multiple options to read on it, and so if they're switching everything, there's an easy opportunity there. And then we knew that they were playing their 5s on Josh, so we thought we could get something good off that.
All right, so there's Tom Thibodeau. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break here. When we get back, we'll take your calls. Top of the hour, we'll have headlines. We'll go through all the games from last night. Starting lineup and Beer Radio.
Here's what's happening on Sirius XM Sports.
NFL free agency is officially underway, and Sirius XM.
Final. Matter of fact, Mike, get him out of there. I'm tired of it. So at least they're doing something for the 7,000. She said, that's fine.
Specifically, if we want to get into the really technical stuff, it was with the clamp that clamps onto the rocket and literally holds it down on the launch pad and releases it at the right time. So pretty important stuff, but it also sounds like it's a relatively simple thing in rocket science to fix. So they're going to try again on Friday, and I just have to stress there that scrubs are super common, especially when it comes to human spaceflight and people are on the top of that rocket.
Yeah, I mean, does this look like something, because you said it seemed like a simple fix that they can fix in the next 24 to 48 hours?
Yes, I think so, or else they wouldn't have set this launch date. And so right now, the next window is around 7 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. And what that would mean, if all goes according to plan, and if the splashdown weather looks good as well. Remember, when you're returning to Earth, the sea conditions also have to be good because the capsule's going to land in the ocean, and you need to be able to have boats go and rescue the crew. So if all of that looks good, you're looking at Butch and Sunny finally returning to Earth, likely, early to middle of next week if this Friday launch happens.
It was supposed to be a few days, and now it's been more than about 280 days in space. What does this mean for them? Because it's a very different scenario, just spending a few days in space and then spending 9 months in space.
Sure, and I'm sure it was a transition to go from that original 8-day mission to what was now 9 months. But if you have to, we can't speculate here, right? Like, we have to go off the words that Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams have said. And what Butch Wilmore said in his last post-flight press conference was, look, we planned for an 8-day mission, but we were prepared to stay for longer. And both of them said that, they were enjoying this time up in space. This may be their very last mission. And look, they're astronauts. They're professional astronauts. They like being in space. So, the thing that's normally said is it's a lot harder on the families who are left behind back on Earth than it is on the flyers who actually get to go into space.
Yeah, there are things to do that must be done at home, and they're not there to help, but they're also worried about making sure that they get safely. So there's a lot on the families on the ground. They, as long as they can. Kristen, thank you so much for your great reporting. Really appreciate it. Okay.
Coming up for us, an American surfer detained in Venezuela for 65 days. His family hasn't heard from him in weeks. His sister is our guest. And details of the first of its kind bill that requires app stores to verify users' ages and ask for parental consent before minors can download apps on their devices.
Hey, are you having a hard time dealing with high-interest credit card debt? It's normal, and a SoFi personal loan can help you save thousands by consolidating your DEBT to one low fixed monthly payment. You can get $5,000 to $100,000 as soon as the same day you sign, with no fees required. It only takes 60 seconds to view your rate, and it won't affect your credit score. View your rate at SoFi.com/paid-off. Loans originated by SoFi Bank N.A., member FDIC. Terms and conditions at SoFi.com/paid-off. NMLS is 96891.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. Think about your mentors and idols, the people who inspire you most. Well, it may look like they have all the answers. They don't. But they do know when to ask questions and seek the support they need. In a world that glorifies hyper-independence, it's easy to forget that we're all better with a support system behind us. Therapy is a great way to invest in yourself and find a consistent source of support in your life, so you can break free from the outdated belief that seeking help is a sign of weakness. BetterHelp has experienced therapists ready to help you with challenges ranging from anxiety and depression to relationships to stress. It's convenient too. You can join a session with a click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. You deserve that. You can even send your therapist a message anytime something comes up. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/CNN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/CNN.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the place for skilled skydiving instructors, accomplished airbrush artists, and proficient pediatricians. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter to hire, you're missing out. ZipRecruiter is the place that's so confident
Venezuelan military forces near the Colombian border and taken into Venezuela. On January 8th, Lucas told Sophie, "I think it's fine. I should be out soon." That was the last time she heard from him. And Sophie Hunter joins us now. Thank you so much for coming on. I know this is a really difficult time for you. Can you give me a sense, because he talks about being taken into Venezuela. Had he accidentally crossed the border, or was he on the other side and somehow they came over the border and snatched him?
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's really a great opportunity, and I'm really pleased to be able to share exactly what happened to Lucas. So what he told me in a voice note, so we have direct evidence of what happened. What he told me is that he was in Colombia, and then he saw a checkpoint from far, and then he reversed. So he was in Colombia, and then he told me Venezuelan military forces arrested me, grabbed me, kidnapped me, took me. This is my pin location. Please help me. I'm in Venezuela. This is what happened.
Wow. Are you getting any communication with Venezuela about what happened? Are they responding to requests? Who is involved in trying to help you figure out where your brother is?
So I'm in touch with the U.S. Embassy in Bogota, with the U.S. State Department. What's great is that Lucas has been designated as a wrongful detainee just last week as potential priority, but we have not heard back from the Venezuelan authorities. The U.S. is really trying. We have no proof of life, so it's a very stressful situation.
The last time that you heard from him, was that the voicemail or the voice message that he sent to you, and in it telling you that he's being taken, basically?
Yes, exactly.
Right, that's the way this works. Right? You're not going to put in, your bench against LeBron. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that against Tatum. You're not going to do that against Brown. You're looking at the matchups in the game also, and that's part of it. And sometimes size is a factor. You have to look at, okay, are you going to put a 6'1" guy on a 6'8" guy? And you're probably not going to do that. And also, the one thing too, Mitchell Robinson, I think, is on the witness restriction. That's what happened. He just came back. He was out. One thing too about Channing Frye, I actually think does a really good job on TV. Like, he knows how hard it is to win in New York. He was a high draft pick. All the Knicks did when he was there was lose. Listen, he walked into a dysfunctional situation that first year there. I mean, you want to write a good book about Larry Brown's 1 year in New York as head coach. We had an absolute blast.
People won't believe half the stuff that happened.
No, I look at Shannon. He's trying.
He's trying to start controversy here with Tom.
He should know how hard it is to win in New York because those guys didn't win. It's just, again, it's amazing to have that many wins. And you think about the other teams with 40 wins, and this is the one guy. It feels like his job is on the line at this point.
It really does. And it shouldn't be. He's done a great job. Great job in New York. But, hey, we'll see what happens in the playoffs, Frank. We'll see how deep this team can go. That's going to be a big telling sign.
Well, if they were to get knocked out by Detroit, and Detroit's a really good team right now, they're in line to play Detroit, because once Brunson went down, you're thinking, you know what, can Milwaukee make a run? But right now, the Knicks are 6 games better in the win column, 5 in the loss column. Milwaukee's not making up that kind of ground. And the Knicks are not going to make up 5 games. They need to make up 4.5 on. No, I think they're 5 out from Boston. They're not going to make up that ground.
Yeah, 4 back in the loss column. No, they're kind of stuck in third. So it would be they and people. Let's say, this meant Detroit's not, obviously, it could be Indiana, which would be, I think, a better matchup for the Knicks, because the Knicks could outscore them, not worry about their defense. But Detroit would be I think Tom Thibodeau's not losing to Detroit in the first round, but that would be a difficult series, much more difficult to me than Indiana.
Yeah. Well, the only thing about Detroit, though, is, this is a team that won a combined 31 games in the last 2 years. So when they play in the playoffs this year, and they're going to be a top 6 seed, they could move. And they do have the ability to move all the way up to 4th, believe it or not. That's the job Davey Bickerstaff has done. But you know how it works. That first time in the playoffs, for guys like Kate Cunningham, it's a different ballgame.
Definitely. Yep.
Everything about the playoffs is tough.
Yeah. So, Indiana does
said something kind of somewhat controversial or a hot button topic that involved the coach. There's always a part of Josh Hart where you say, well, he does that because he does talk a lot. Miguel Bridges, you never really hear the guy talking. In fact, I'm not so sure he talked after the game last night. You might have looked at it as, I don't know. We need to see if there's any comments that he had after the game.
Game-winning shot, had a big day.
Well, he did talk to, he talked to MSG Network. But my point is that he doesn't talk that.
He doesn't. No, or always. I mean, Josh Hart is quoted extensively. He's like Mr. Nick, and obviously Brunson talks, and Carl Anthony Towns. So he's way down the pecking order.
The only thing that when he was with Brooklyn, the only thing that rubbed me the wrong, he got mad at the team playing him 12 minutes in that game against Milwaukee, and everyone was kind of going after the organization for benching all those guys. It was like a December 27th game against the Bucks. They arrested a bunch of guys for Bridges while they played 12 minutes and the streak was alive. And he said, I don't want to play. It's just about keeping the streak alive. That doesn't mean that much to me. Hold on a second. At the end of the season, I think it was 2 years prior, in a game against Philadelphia that didn't mean anything, they had him out there for the jump ball, and he was part of this. He was out there for the jump ball, and I looked at the time. I thought it was 7 seconds. He was in the game for 4 seconds. The jump ball happened. The Nets lost the tap. He immediately fouled the player, and they took him out of the game because the Nets were going to be in the playoffs that year against Philadelphia. So on the one hand, you're sitting there saying, don't play me just to keep the streak alive, but that's exactly what you had done. He contradicted himself.
Yeah, right.
So, and he did it in a way where he was kind of piling on Jock Vaughn and Sean Marks, because everyone was kind of getting on the Nets for benching there for all their guys. Bitch! And then he does the same thing here, kind of piling on.
Let's hear for more of the starting lineup. The madness is about to begin. Oh my goodness!
I think that parents should have to upload an ID or prove that they're a parent of a child in every single app that their children use. I think the right place to do this, and a place where it would be actually very easy for it to work, is within the app stores themselves.
So Utah has now passed this bill, the App Store Accountability Act, whereby app stores would have to verify users' ages, they would have to share user age categories with app developers, and they would also have to seek parental consent anytime a minor user tries to download or make a purchase in an app. And the idea here really is to have sort of a central clearinghouse for verifying users' ages so that apps can create more safe experiences for young users. There are now 8 other states that are considering similar legislation, and this bill in Utah is just awaiting the governor's signature.
Oh, very interesting. How are the app stores, the Apples and the Googles, responding?
The app stores are saying essentially that there are privacy concerns here, that every user, not just children, but adult users too, would have to submit information to verify their ages, and that not every app requires age verification. Right. Here's what Apple said in a white paper last week. They said, while only a fraction of apps on the App Store may require age verification, all users would have to hand over their sensitive, personally identifying information to us, regardless of whether they actually want to use one of these limited set of apps. That's not in the interest of user safety or privacy. Google has made similar comments, and it's not just the App Stores. Privacy experts have raised these concerns as well, and legal experts have also said that if teens are required to get parental consent to view protected online speech, that could also run afoul of the First Amendment. Now, Google has submitted a veto request to the governor's office, and so we'll see whether he signs this and whether, if there are legal challenges after the fact, whether this actually goes into effect. But parents say that something needs to be done to protect kids online.
That's for sure. All right, let's see what happens. Claire, good to see you. Thank you so much. A new hour of CNN News Central starts out with a throw.
All right, we're giving you a live look at Capitol Hill this morning, where time's running out to avoid a government shutdown. Tomorrow night's deadline is closing in. Senate Democrats say they're ready for a fight, while Republicans aim to blame Democrats if the government does shut down. And markets and investors are on edge ahead of key inflation report due out just minutes from now. Just where are U.S. prices heading? And a disturbing story out of Connecticut. Police say a man set fire to his own home in a bid to escape a 20-year imprisonment by his stepmother. I'm Sarah Seidner with Kate Baldwin. John Berman is out. This is CNN News Central.
latest on this. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, he says he has the votes now to block the Republican funding bill that passed the House earlier this week. In the Senate, Republicans need at least 8 Democrats to vote with them to get this through. The Democrats, they want an even shorter stopgap of 30 days to allow, as they say, the normal appropriations process to take place, as it's called, which would also give Democrats more say in what happens in the Republican-controlled Congress. But Democrats could be playing with fire here. You could be looking at a government shutdown, and our federal agencies are already dealing with a loss of more than 100,000 federal workers laid off through the DOGE efforts. And a shutdown means more federal workers, possibly near 900,000, could be furloughed at this very tough time. CNN senior political analyst Mark Preston joins us now for more on this, which presents I would even say, an unusually tough decision for Democrats, given this climate. It's not just what we've seen many times before, Mark, which is binary choice, vote for it or shut down for whatever party we're talking about. This comes at a particularly unique time with what we're seeing with the federal workforce being slashed so quickly by DOGE. Schumer says he's got the votes to block it. What do you think? What do you think how this plays out now?
All right, so a couple things. Let's level set where we're at. This is a budget that should have been approved by Congress and signed by the president back in October of 2024, okay? So this is very late spending. We've seen, and you and I have seen over the last 10 or 15 years, 20 years, we've seen that this has happened again and again. They're unable to balance their own budget. What has happened in the House of Representatives is that Republicans have enough votes. They were able to force through a bill that is heavily favoring Republican interests, which is defense spending. Democrats are upset about that. Couldn't stop it in the House. To your point, Chuck Schumer in the Senate says that he has enough. Republicans need 60 votes. We have 53 votes, but this is a problem that Chuck Schumer's got to run up against. Let's just see what John Fetterman has to say.
For me, every vote went down. And if you are wanting to, if you don't want to vote for that CR because you want to protect the government and some of the things that I don't agree with that are happening, well then again, it's like I'm not going to cut the baby in half.
And that's John Fetterman right there. So he is going to support the bill. We think Rand Paul, Republican, is going to vote against the bill. So basically, Chuck Schumer would need Democrats from supporting this bill for the government to shut down on Friday. We'll see what happens. I don't think he will have the votes. To your point, this would be a political loser, I believe, for the Democrats to shut down the government at the same time they're trying to save jobs.
And that's the thing. I just had a House Democrat out, and look, senators never need the advice of House members. That's a fun game that we play from the beginning of time. Democrat, when I said, are you ready for Democrats to face blame if the government shuts down, he would not even go there. He's saying just what you were suggesting is that Democrats say this is not on us given X, Y, and Z. But again, at the end of the day, at midnight come Friday into Saturday, when you're looking at a binary choice, the House is jammed this